Welcome, AEGers, our lead advisors, our advisory board members, and our guests. Thank you so much for being with us. As you may or may not know, because I do see some new faces, I am Mali Pompadit. I am the DC chapter director for AEG, and I am delighted to bring to you our quarterly professional development virtual experience. And we have Rosemary here and we have Mark here who are on our executive team. So I would like to just slot out a 1 or 2 minutes for both of them to say hello before we dive right into the program.
Okay, let me start. I am Mark Haas. I'm co-founder and CEO of AEG, Association for Enterprise Growth. And our mission is really to create personal and business growth through trusted relationships. And we do that. We have a chapter of elite advisors in DC, Baltimore, and soon in Tampa. We'll be expanding across the country. And we also have a parallel complementary group of CEOs of mid-market companies. And the idea is to connect all those individuals together. And by connecting people in very variety of disciplines, we all get to be more valuable in our own disciplines by understanding the complexity and the breadth of services that we can provide our clients and to refer each other to those clients.
Thank you, Mark. Rosemary, our COO.
Thanks, Molly. I'm Rosemary Savino, as Molly mentioned. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at AEG. I want to thank all of you for joining us, especially our guests and advisors and members alike. This is one of the many benefits that AEG provides to our membership. And as part of our Give First mission, what we do for the larger community of business owners and business leaders. I'm excited to hear from you today, Wanda, and I'm excited to get some really important tips and key strategies for my follow through and follow up. So I'm excited for that. Thanks.
Great.
I think it's also appropriate to give out a shout out to Brian. Brian, is Brian still there? Who's our...
Yes.
Yes. Hi, Brian. You want to say hello
Hi,
to Baltimore?
Yes. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Say again.
You want to say hello from Baltimore?
Oh, gosh, it's great to see the Baltimore representation on this call. We have a strong and growing chapter in Baltimore, and together with our Washington friends, I think we have created something special for our two cities. So welcome everyone from Baltimore.
Absolutely. And Rosemary, you forgot to tell them about our expansion. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, I think Mark did a great job covering that. Hopefully with our next quarterly event of this nature, we will also have guests and members from our Tampa communities, and we'll be continuing to grow across the country throughout the rest of the year.
Absolutely. And one more featured person, Marco, you want to say hello and share your role?
Hello, everyone. This is Marco Avila, and I just joined the AEG Inner Circle team. Really looking forward to bump up the Inner Circle world in Baltimore, and it's going to be a lot of exciting things that coming up, and we'll be sharing all that information pretty soon.
Thank you so much, Marco. Thank you. Thank you. Well, without further ado, because we do have quite a program, and then we do want to leave some room at the end for us to do a little bit of networking before we close out, I would like to introduce to you our featured speaker, Wanda. She can do a little wave there. Wanda is an international speaker, coach, corporate trainer, author, and award-winning business owner. She has been talking to me for, I think it's been a couple of months already, right, Wanda, before we landed on this opportunity. So I'm going to have you give a little more about your background instead of reading your extensive bio. So without further ado, please take the stage and share your wisdom with us, please.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here. And I'm going to start off with a statistic. Did you know that there's over 100,000 networking events a month in the United States? And that's a whole lot of people networking. And here's the end result for most of those people. If you don't recognize this, I'm going to say congratulations. If you do recognize it, it's what I call business card buildup. Now, I'm going to be very direct with you today, because if I try to sugarcoat or sweet talk you through this really important topic, I'll be doing you a complete disservice, and I don't want to do that. So if I say anything that stings, just know that I'm saying it because I care. So if you have this situation on your desk, I want you to stop it. Stop going to events, connecting with people, and then doing nothing. Because when you do that, you're wasting your time, energy, and money. And that's what it takes to get a person's business card. So if you have this situation on your desk, I want better for you. Now, I'm going to get into the what, the how, and the why of follow-up. But before I do that, I want to go into my background a little bit so you understand why I'm even talking to you about this topic. I'm Wanda Allen. My company's Follow-Up Sales Strategies, and I'm an international speaker, coach, and a corporate trainer. I'm also an author. I've written 2 books. My first book was Follow-Up Savvy, and my second book is Follow-Up Sales Strategies. And before I did all that, I had a very successful 25-year corporate career. I was a business banker, and I started at the age of 19 as a secretary. So if any of you have been around long enough to remember that title, you know I'm dating myself, because today they're called administrative assistants. But I was a 19-year-old secretary, and I worked my way up the corporate ladder. And at the age of 30, I was promoted to senior vice president. And I spent the lion's share of my career managing SBA departments. Stands for Small Business Administration and their loans. And I managed departments that did 100 million plus in annual loan volume. And it was through that experience that I developed a very strong skill for creating systems. And after managing SBA for about 15 years, I was asked if I would consider the position of branch manager. And I was ready for a change, so I accepted the position, which put me into sales. And one of the first things I did was I really studied the sales process, and I realized how critical follow-up is to every single stage in the process. And I also realized there's an extension of following up called staying in touch, also known as relationship management, which is an area that's terribly neglected today. Because what so many people do is they follow up on the prospecting side, get the business, close it, drop the relationship, and they're off looking for their next new lead, prospect, and client, forgetting about everybody they've already done business with. So I'm here to remind you, there's more opportunity either through more business and or referrals with the people who have already worked with you. So I really understood it all, and I decided to take my strong skill of creating systems, and I developed systems for following up on the prospecting side and then staying in touch once business had been closed. And within 9 months of having these systems in place, I brought in my first $1 million account, and I've had many successes since then. So I know most of you would love to have the right systems in place. And some of you might be happy with a system because there's just nothing there. So if I asked each of you if you were good at follow-up, I know many of you are going to tell me no, because it's just an area that in general people really struggle with. And if you're not good at getting your follow-up work done, there are some common results. First result is you're going to lose business. Bottom line, end of story. If you don't follow up, you're going to lose business. Next result, you have a thin or inconsistent pipeline. And this is stressful because if your pipeline's thin or inconsistent, your sales are going to be thin or inconsistent. And therein lies the stress. You quit or give up too soon when following up. And if you quit or give up too soon, in no way are you giving your pipeline an opportunity to grow. You carry around negative emotions on a regular basis about having to do your follow-up work. You have business card buildup that I just discussed, and you lack strong relationships. These are all common results of not being good at follow-up. So whether you recognize yourself in one of these, a few of these, or all of these, again, I want better for you. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you 3 strategies that if you're willing to implement them, they will improve your follow-up efforts immediately. And these strategies are the fundamentals of follow-up. The problem with life today is it has gotten so complex, complicated, and fast-paced that the fundamentals are lost. And I'll use a sports team as an example. Anytime there's a team and they've lost 3 or more games in a row, you will always hear the coach say, we have to get back to the fundamentals. And a coach always says that because you can't be good at anything if the fundamentals aren't there. So life is moving full steam ahead, and that's great, but we're going to go in the opposite direction and get back to the fundamentals of follow-up. And then if you want further support with your follow-up skills beyond this presentation, I'll be offering a free gift at the end. Okay, so let's get into it. We have to deal with the elephant in the room, and that is stress. People are so stressed out today. And if you feel like follow-up adds to your stress level, or follow-up work in and of itself is stressful, I have really good news for you, because follow-up is not stressful. What creates the stress is not doing your follow-up work. That's where the rub is, because when you're not getting your follow-up work done, there's negativity attached to that. And that negativity is centered in emotions. First one is embarrassment. Have you ever been embarrassed because you didn't follow up when you said you would or when you should have? Next emotion is guilt. In particular with relationship management, because if you're not staying in touch with the people that are important to you, in essence, you're neglecting that relationship, and that comes with a lot of guilt. But there's also guilt with not following up. And then the last emotion is discouragement. You know, you just don't feel good about the business that is not closing, the pipeline's thin, deals are slipping through the cracks. And if you're embarrassed and guilty and discouraged on a regular basis about follow-up, this is how you end up feeling. And I call this trying to get through the day, schlepping a big old boulder on your shoulder. It's exhausting and it's going to wear you out. Now that's the negative. Now I'm going to flip it to the positive. What happens when you do get your follow-up work emotionally? First of all, you're composed. When you're composed, you're in control. You're not running around with your hair on fire. You're encouraged. You feel great about the business you're closing. Your pipeline's robust. You have a spring in your step. You're actually enjoying what you do. And then lastly is confidence. And we forget about this because at the end of the day, that's what people buy. You know, who doesn't love a salesperson that is confident in who they are and the product or service they sell? That is what we gravitate towards. So when you're composed and encouraged and confident, this is how you're going to feel. And you may say, well, that's a little dramatic, Wanda, and a bit sappy, but I challenge you, get your follow-up work done every working day. And it's the work that's going to bring in more sales. And tell me if by and large, you don't feel like this versus the person trying to get through the day with a big old boulder. But before we can get here, which is what I call the happy place, we've got to deal with this right here. What goes on in between the ears? This is fundamental one. If your mindset isn't right towards your follow-up work, you will get tripped up. The number one issue with mindset is fear. There's so much fear associated with following up, which is a huge reason why people don't do it. So I'm going to get into the 3 common fears. First fear is fear of being uncomfortable. If you're not used to doing your follow-up work, it is uncomfortable, but in the beginning only. I want you to view follow-up as a muscle. The more you do it, the stronger it gets, the more developed it gets, and the thicker your skin will get. And as this diagram illustrates, the magic happens outside of the comfort zone. So please don't think you can get into new levels of business and sales and remain comfortable. That's a modified definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing, but expecting different results. So when this fear shows up, the mindset shift I want you to make is when I'm uncomfortable, it's my opportunity to grow my sales. Next fear, fear of being pushy. Hear it all the time. I hate to follow up because I feel like I'm being pushy. And that's a negative viewpoint of it. And what feeds this is those that have this fear, have that pushy salesperson in their mind that they don't want to be. And so that just fuels the fear. Now, when you're following up, what you're really doing, and this is according to the source, it's a synonym to follow up. What you're doing is you're pursuing and showing interest. That is what you're doing. If your job is to bring in sales, your job is to follow up. The antonym to follow up, according to the source, is avoiding and forgetting. You don't want to be the salesperson that could run the risk of being perceived as somebody who's avoiding and forgetting. And that you don't want that perception coming from the prospect. So when this fear shows up, the mindset shift I want you to make is I am a professional salesperson who respectfully shows my prospects that I'm interested. If you will make professional and respectful your mantra, there's no way you'll be pushy because they don't fit. And then the last fear is fear of rejection, that 2-letter word. I hear it all the time. I don't like to follow up because I'm afraid they're going to tell me no, but no is part of the sales process. And when you're following up, quite frankly, you're looking for 1 to 2 answers. And no is the second best answer. No is not where the pain is. The pain is in the ignore. That's what you don't want. So when this fear shows up, the mindset shift I want you to make is no is good. It is not a bad word. It's progress. So that's fundamental one. Got to fix it in the mind. Fundamental number two is you must use a CRM, stands for Customer Relationship Manager. In a nutshell, it's a computer program where you keep all your contact and follow-up information. If you're not using a CRM, the follow-up and relationship process is so much more difficult. You're doing what I call slipping and sliding. If you're not using a CRM, you are using some non-CRM systems, and here they are. First one is a spiral notebook on your desk. Now, wasting time flipping through pages of paper trying to find something you wrote 3 weeks ago. And if you ever lose the notebook, there goes your future business. Sticky notes, please don't use sticky notes. They get lost in the paper shuffle. You could lose a sticky that would have that would have given you the biggest piece of business you've ever closed. Cell phones are not a CRM. They are a cell phone. People are trying to make it their CRM. Email, please don't use your inbox as your reminder and your to-do list. This adds majorly to inbox overload that so many people are experiencing. Excel, so many use Excel, but it's better than what I just discussed, but it's still not good because number one, it is too labor intensive. And the bigger your sheet, the more laborious it is. Scrolling up and down and left and right, moving columns and rows gives me a headache thinking about it. And the bigger problem is that it's not automated. And if it's not automated, there's just too much room for error and oversight. And then the last system that's worse than all of these that is commonly used is your memory. I can't tell you how many people use this. Oh, I'll remember to call Bob 2 weeks from today. And I'm going to say, yeah, probably not. And it has nothing to do with age. Too much going on. Our brains were not designed to be a CRM. This is a system that will wake you up at 3 a.m. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot to do that. Or it will remind you 2 weeks later that you were supposed to do something 2 weeks ago, and now you're embarrassed and guilty and discouraged, and all of those emotions come flooding back. So if you get nothing else out of me today, please get a CRM and use it. It will change your business and it'll change your life. It's that powerful. That's fundamental two. Fundamental number three is you must make follow-up a top priority. Now, this may sound like common sense, but it's not very common. The number one reason why people tell me they can't get their follow-up work done is because they don't have the time. They're just too busy. I've heard it a gazillion times and I never ever believe it. It is not about the time. And time's a real issue for a lot of people in that they consistently have a shortage of it. And if you're consistently short on time, you enter what I call the blame game, where you blame time for everything. I'm too busy, I'm in a hurry, I gotta go, I'll do it later. And this can become very habitual, so much so that you'll find yourself saying you don't have time to do something that would take 5 minutes. And it's been my observation that if those that are consistently short on time are the ones who waste the most. And how do they waste it? On low priority, comfortable work. They do that work before they get their top priority work done. Follow-up is a top priority task, and the top priority tasks are those that move the needle forward in your business. So please make follow-up a priority and get it done before you do any comfortable, busy, low priority work. That's fundamental 3. Now I'm going to share some sales statistics. Older research told us that 48% of people never followed up. I never was on board with that because I knew it was so much worse. Now, newer research is telling us that 79% of people never follow up. That I'm on board with. That's how bad it is out there. So if you will really commit to your follow-up responsibilities, there's so much more opportunity for you. This research also tells us that 80% of sales are made between the 5th and 12th contact, but only 10% of people make 3 or more. I believe this is such an accurate statistic. I think it might even be a little generous. So I'm going to reword this bottom statistic. 90% of people follow up twice and then quit. So what that looks like, you get a lead, you follow up twice, the prospect doesn't respond, you drop it. You get another lead, follow up twice, prospect doesn't respond, you drop it, on and on and on. And before you know it, you feel like a hamster on a wheel, just running, not getting very far. People are working so hard in the lead generation piece, but they fall so short on the back end, which is follow up. nowhere near the fruit of all that labor will be realized. And that pains me. So if you feel like you are on that hamster wheel, there's only one way out of it, and it is through systems. Now, this is a cold clinical word. And for our creatives and free spirits, this word will all but give you a hide. So if you don't like the word systems, use the word daily routine. They both mean the same thing. If I asked each of you, hey, what's your daily system or routine for getting your follow-up and relationship management work done, I know most of you are going to tell me you don't have them. And if you don't, I really want you to be open to getting some in place, because here's what they're going to do. First and foremost, they're going to give you structure. We all need some kind of structure to our day. Otherwise, it's a free-for-all, and that doesn't work. Next, it's going to organize you. We're all wired differently. Some are more naturally organized than others. If you're not a naturally organized person, even more the reason to have systems and routines. Don't let that be an excuse to stay away from it. Because what happens when disorder and disorganization is present, it opens the door wide for inefficiencies. And I believe that this crazed frenzy that we all live in, it has desensitized people to inefficiencies. And inefficiencies are so costly. And then that leads me to the next point, which routines and systems make you more efficient. This is crucial, because the more efficient you are, the more productive you're going to be. And the more productive you are, the more business you're going to close, which means the more money you're going to make. And that's always a great thing. And then lastly, they keep you consistent. And consistency is so crucial. You know, it's been said, you cannot have success without consistency. They go hand in hand. And so you want to be consistent with your follow-up. So I'm going to ask you, if you're not using any or operating under any kind of systems or routines, is it costing you financially and lost business? And only you know the answer to that. And if it is, I ask that today be the day that you draw a line in the sand and say, no more. You know, I think we have a tendency that, I think we have time, right? But we don't. We're midway through the third quarter of 2022. It's crazy, and there's only a little bit of this year left, but there's plenty of time to still really get some button down this follow-up side of what you do, so that you can still kill it for 2022 in sales and still take great care of your relationships. So if you're not where you want to be, or you want to learn more in this area, I told you I'd be offering a free gift at the end. And here's what it is. It is a complimentary ticket to my 90-minute virtual workshop. And here's what I'm going to show you how to do. First, I'm going to show you how to easily use a CRM for follow-up purposes. I don't care what CRM it is. I'm going to show you how to easily use it. Next, I really have to dig into time management. I barely scratched the surface today when it comes to time. Time is a real problem. I understand it. 24 hours is it. That's all we're going to ever get. And so you've got to clear some space for this work that is going to increase your sales, take care of your relationships, and get you to the goals that you have for your business and your sales. And then lastly, I'm going to teach you a system, a daily follow-up action plan. These are my upcoming dates, September 1st, September 9th, and the 15th. And these are your Eastern. So it's at noon Eastern. It's 90 minutes. You can register by going to my website and click on the free workshop page. And then I will also put I just put the clickable link in the chat box, so you can also register there. So that is it. I thank you for your time. And Malia, I'm going to turn it back to you.
What a powerful session. And I asked her to do it in the time frame, and she did it. And I appreciate it. I could tell that you were trying to get it all in. Really appreciate you, Wanda, for that. So we built out some Q&A time, as always. So we are going to have the next 10 minutes for Wanda to answer any questions that you could possibly think of. And it's all good here. Just be vulnerable, ask whatever you need. That's why we have this. So I think I see Michael.
Wanda, thank you very much. That was fast-paced and fascinating. How's that? And we all live it. So I have a couple questions about words to use and not use.
Mhm.
So I have been taught to never use the word follow up, never use the word touching base or reaching out, those kinds of words. It's kind of like, if you've met somebody, you start the conversation with, or an email or voicemail, whatever it is. The last time we spoke, here's what we discussed. Start, with a topic and get into that. It's been some time since we last connected. Here's why I want to reach out to you. So always start with those kinds of things. What are your thoughts about, words to use?
Yeah, so I definitely agree with what you said. We met last week at the chamber, and you were interested in discussing my service further. And so I'm following up to continue that conversation, or as you requested, I'm following up to schedule a time for us to talk. Yeah, so what I say is say what you mean and ask for what you want. Just be very clear about what you want out of that call, email, text, whatever it is. And then that's gonna, you're not gonna get tongue-tied and twisted when you're very clear. Don't dress it up, or because you're gonna end up wasting time and, like I say, getting tongue-tied and twisted. And don't not use the word follow-up. I've never heard that before. I wouldn't know how to talk. I couldn't use the word follow-up because, I say I'm following up because I do follow up a lot. And so I've never heard that before, but you'd have to put a gag over my mouth and tie my hands because I wouldn't know how to function without using those words.
Well, I think it's fine to use in a conversation, or and as you get into whatever. But in like the the title of an email or something like that, just get to the point. Why do I want to talk to you? Why do you want to talk to me? Get to that. Anyway, that was the topic there.
Yeah, and in the subject line, I always put following up.
You do?
Always. Because I want, before they
Anyway.
even get into the body.
Semantics. But
Yeah.
It seems it would put the person on edge because they get a million emails a day. Following up, I don't know who you are, what you want. You got 2 seconds to get my attention.
Mhm.
So it seems like I want to talk about this. Okay, now I can visualize what this person wants. I'll read it.
Mhm.
But follow up seems kind of vague.
Yeah, well, when I send that, they know who I am. I mean, I don't do that on like a cold call or anything like
Yeah.
that. It's people that I have engaged conversation with, so they know who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say let's continue the conversation.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it already creates that awareness and warmth in that type of intro.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ed. I see Fred's hand is up and Latanya is up. Before Fred, I'll have you go next, Wanda. What I love about what you said is just be honest and be authentic.
Yes.
That's exactly what you're doing. So they're not going to feel like you're trying to tell them an untruth. I know that's not a word, but anyway, Fred.
Sure. Can you recommend a simple, basic, easy to learn, easy to use CRM system? Don't need all the bells and whistles, just like a really, really simple, basic one.
Yeah, so it's a funny name. It's called Less Annoying. And it's basic, it's simple, but it's relevant, it's current, it's very user-friendly. So that's the one I would recommend. Now, to be totally transparent, I am an affiliate with them. And if you use it and like it, you'll get 60 days free. But having said that, I don't care if you use it or not. All I care is that you get one that you like. And so, but that would be my top recommendation. But I can list others. Pipe Drive, PIPE Drive is another good one. I don't think they're as usually user-friendly as Less Annoying is. Zoho, someone put Zoho is. Yep, Zoho, I do recommend Zoho. HubSpot, HUB Spot. I just put my link in the chat box for Less Annoying. HubSpot's another good one. So yeah, there's hundreds and hundreds out there. You will not there's not a shortage of you to look at, but I'd say between HubSpot, Zoho, Less Annoying, there's a very good chance you're going to like one of those. Streak for Gmail. I've not heard that. Insightly is another good one too. Yeah, there's so many out there.
And Fred, if you can get to, well, I can save the chat for you as well, so we won't miss anything and we can share that. So I hope that's helpful, Fred. I know I see LaTanya's hand is up next, and then Anne, you're up next after that.
Hi, Wanda. Thank you. That was excellent information and right on time, because I've been planning my time in terms of my routine and trying to, really streamline my business development time. Like, how do you put together your routine? So how much time do you allow each day or each week to, do your follow-ups?
Well, what I suggest is you schedule it as early in the day as possible, but not so early that you can't make calls. And then it varies. I mean, some days I have more follow-up work to do than other days. And what should be a red flag is if you have any working day with no follow-up work to do, because that means the pipeline's too thin. You got to build that pipeline. So it varies, but you will be surprised. People think I don't have time or it's going to take so much time. But when you really commit to it and do it, you're like, oh my gosh, that hard, that didn't, we make things worse in our own mind than really what they are. So it's not like you have to spend 3 hours following up. I mean, if you do and you have that much follow-up work, good for you. That's a lot of opportunity you have sitting in front of you.
Thank you, LaTanya. Anne, you're up next.
Well, thanks, Wanda. And I would really encourage anyone who has not used a CRM or who has not used it successfully to attend Wanda's workshop, because it's not easy to go from a spreadsheet to a CRM if you haven't done it before. So putting in that plug for you. But my question, and what I'm always toying with in my mind, is the frequency of follow-up before it becomes annoying. Because for some of my clients, I can have a lead time that's well over a year. And they say they want to continue the conversation. There's one that I've been talking to through email for almost 2 years now. Mm-hmm. And I emailed her last week. She says, give me 2 more months. Mm-hmm. So what about frequency?
Yeah, I think as long as they're engaging with you and telling you another 2 months, you stay right in the game with them. And don't focus on how much time it's been. It doesn't matter. The idea is there's still continued communication and conversation going on. That's the great news. But what I say is, I said earlier that people quit. They quit. So they only try a couple times, but 80% of sales are made between the 5th and 12th contact. So what I say is, don't even think about quitting until you have followed up a minimum of 5 times. Like, don't even let that enter your brain, because you're shooting yourself in the foot. And like I said earlier, people, the heavy lifting in it is in getting that lead. And the easy part, if you will, is the follow-up. All you got to do is pick a phone up or send an email or text. But, so many view the follow-up as the heavy lifting, but it's really not. The work's been done. So you got to stay in minimum 5 times to give yourself a chance at that business.
Well, in terms of frequency, though, it's also the duration between follow-ups.
Yeah.
So, a week, 2 weeks, a month. I mean, any recommendations on that, on the 5 times?
Yeah, I teach a whole system for how to do that. And usually where people get tripped up is when they're being ignored. That's where the system is critical. But I teach, I could not even begin to get into that here. But really, if you're engaging in conversation, you just have to be asking those questions. If she said, we're still interested, but it's just still not a good time, you've got to ask, would it be okay if I followed up later? Yes. When would be a good time? Because you need to get that ball back in your court, and you want to be in control of the next step. And you do that by asking the right questions.
The 5 times are those that ghost you. It's like they start to be engaged, but then they drop off.
Yeah.
So that's where I struggle with frequency.
Yeah. And, sometimes even though you may still be having dialogue and getting out to that 5th time, but yeah, it happens. Prospects ignore. It doesn't matter what industry it is it's the way it is. It's kind of the nature of the beast. And that's why the systems are so crucial, so that you always know what your next step is and you're not trying to guess or figure out, or you make assumptions. They must have changed their mind. They're not interested. They went with somebody else if you knew they were shopping around, and all these thoughts that you don't know if they're true or not can prevent you from taking action. And so that's why it's just about staying in the game and following up because you want a yes or a no. Like I said, that's what you're looking for.
Thank you. And we have 2 more hands up, and that's just about the time that we have before we do a little bit of networking. So Mark and then Ross, and then we'll go ahead and make sure you take down Wanda's contact information to ask more questions. I'll ask her to put that information in the chat. I think she already did with her, at least her website, if you could do that, Wanda. But Mark and then Ross, please.
If you wait long enough in the queue, most of your question gets answered eventually. This relates to the 80% of people, sales are made between 5 and 12 contacts. There's a difference between following up 5 to 12 times in email land. Yeah, you could send 5 emails and they never see one. So it's not like they're not responding or they need to be cajoled like it was in the 1960s. So, is that number related to the number of times they have heard from you, or the number of times you reached out?
The between 5 and 12?
Yeah.
It's the number of times that you've reached out.
Okay.
The number of follow-ups that you have made. Yes.
So they don't necessarily have to have received any of those. Is what I'm saying is you can send an email an hour, and if they never see any of them, then how do you know how much is enough?
Well, you don't know if they've received them or not.
Right.
I always encourage, stay out of your head, just focus on the action that you need to take. And then you have no control if they're going to read it, if it goes into their spam, if they're going to respond to you, you have no control over that. So you just take control by doing what you need to do. And I will say that this is the most efficient follow-up tool we have like this. And it's the one that's used the least. And there's so much fear around the phone, and that's a whole nother presentation. But this is so effective because I can cover with you in a 5-minute conversation what could take 4 emails in 3 days. And you're going to tell me things on the phone that you won't tell me in an email or a text. And so this is so powerful. And I encourage everybody to use this first before you go to electronic tools. This should be primary and those should be secondary. But in the world we live in today, electronic tools is primary. But I also believe people hide behind the electronic tools because it's much easier to get ignored or be told no electronically than to have to talk to somebody, and people don't know what to say or how to say it, and scripting, and they get tongue-tied and twisted and forget it. I'll just send an email. That's the safe place, So
Okay. Thanks, Wanda.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Wanda. Ross?
Yeah. So Mark, you hit the nail on the head. If you wait long enough, your question will probably be asked. I had the same thought here as well. As half the time I don't know if my emails are making it through. There are a lot of filters and things of that nature, depending on the organization that you're reaching out to. I have been trying to leverage tools like MailChimp that will show me who's opened, who's clicked, who's done something. That's helping a little bit, but my question was the same as far as the follow-up is concerned. It's a guessing game a lot of the time. So Wanda, you already answered that. So it looks like we get some time back to the group. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. Well, then that's perfect because Brian, you're going to be the last person to ask the question. So please go.
Okay, thanks. So my question is we talked about email. To what extent do people respond to LinkedIn versus email? Have you found LinkedIn to be a good way to do any type of follow-up after you meet somebody?
I don't have any statistics on that. I know that there are people, if you were to send them an email and a LinkedIn message and they're a heavy LinkedIn user, they will respond to that LinkedIn message way faster than they'll return that email. So it almost depends on how much somebody uses like a Facebook private messenger or LinkedIn message, but it depends on the person. I always use the phone, and then if I have their email, I use that as the backup. But, because I don't know if somebody's a LinkedIn user or, I don't know. It's just easier for me to go to email. But I have an associate. She's a LinkedIn. Everything's about LinkedIn with her, and she does all her communications via LinkedIn, and that works for her. And so
to reinforce that, I'm the opposite. I'll respond to the LinkedIn maybe 4, 5, 10 months later. The email I'll respond within 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just don't know email. You don't know that everybody's on LinkedIn. And like he just said, some people just don't get on it very often. So people get on their email. They do, we all look at our email.
Thank you, Wanda. Can we get a virtual round of applause for Wanda, please? She was amazing. Thank you, Wanda. I hope you can stay with us till the end to do a little bit of networking. I'm going to break us all out into mini rooms here for the next 8-10 minutes or so, and leave the last 5 minutes just to have you come back and whoever wants to share. When I break you out, I want us to think about what you learned today and share with each other, what do you do really well around your sales and business development, and where might you need a little bit of support? This gives you a chance to talk about your sales process and the work that you do, but let's make it in the context of your business development. Where do you need the support? What works really well for you? And then we'll come back in about, I'll send a little notice, but between 7 and 10 minutes, okay? All right, so let's do that. I'll break you out. Let's see here. Let's do mini groups so we have more time to share, okay? I'll see you back in a little bit.
Oh man, I was just talking and I got cut off.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Marco. I know.
You jumped in. I thought we were over.
So sorry. It's this means we leave you wanting more.
Yes.
Oh, is everybody gone?
No, they're coming back
Oh,
now.
okay.
They're coming back now. How is were
We
you all
have 50.
together?
We have 51 seconds to spare, and we came to.
Yeah.
How was it so far? Did you have a good conversation?
No, we did.
Yes.
I did. Yes.
All right. Well, we have 4 minutes, and I thought perhaps in the last 4 minutes, we can have maybe 1 or 2 people kind of volunteer to share what you learned about each other, or how did this information that Wanda shared resonate with you all? Who would like to comment?
Well, I learned that Len Miller has so much business, he doesn't need to follow up with anybody.
That's a great place to be, Len. Mark, you had your hand up as well.
But I do follow up with people. That's not true. It's just that I'm not out there cold calling or beating the bushes. Most of my business comes from referrals of existing clients and other professional advisors. Yeah. So
Wanda does a great job, but is always looking for more speaking engagements.
I don't blame her. That's what she does.
Thank you.
Mark Silverman, you had your hand up, I think.
Yeah, Wanda, thank you. The question and answer part really was excellent, where you get to expand on some of that. I was kind of thinking I'm the king of follow-up, relationship and all that. And then as you were talking, I was really like, oh my God, I speak across the country. And there are so many times when I've spoken to a whole room full of people and not followed up with the room of people. Or like I have clients who I haven't spoken to in 2 years, like the former clients. And I'm thinking back, like, I'm not the king. I'm the king of follow-up when there's money right there or there's something, but I'm not the king of follow-up of mining that whole constituency back there. So thank you very much for just waking me up to that.
Great. Excellent. You're welcome.
Great. Well, Wanda, again, thank you so very much. That was a powerhouse of information in the 20 plus minutes I gave you. That was excellent that you were able to do that so brilliantly. And everybody has our contact information. So please make sure that you save the chat or copy it somewhere while we're still on the line. In the last 2 minutes we have left, I would like to remind folks that for our elite advisors, we have our upcoming September 13th monthly meeting. We are going to have a fireside chat here in the DC area with Lyles Carr and Jack White, both powerhouses. And of course, those in Baltimore, you're welcome to come down and just learn about how to leverage your network. These two gentlemen, like, I can't even describe to you how well they leverage their network. And they're just incredible. So please join us for that. Brian, when is your September meeting?
Third Tuesday, which is what, September, let me look at the date,
September the
19th.
20th.
September 20th.
Okay.
Third Tuesday. It'll be, if you haven't been at the City Garage, which is a thriving incubator in South Baltimore, easy to get to for the Washington folks, right at I-95 in South Baltimore. So we welcome anyone who wishes to attend, and we have an exciting program planned.
Great.
That's right.
Thank
I'll
you.
just jump in that Debbie Bates-Schrott, who is a member in both DC and Baltimore, will be talking about branding and messaging and how to leverage that to grow your business. So
Great.
that's going to be awesome as well.
Rosemary, before you mute, can you tell us for our elite advisors when the golf event will be, please?
This is a members only event. So Greg, Mark, you need to sign up quickly. On September the 28th, we are inviting all those in our AEG ecosystem, regardless of what city they're in or what community they commune with, to join us at Blue Mash in, I think that's Montgomery County. Maybe it's Howard
Yes.
County, Montgomery County.
Montgomery County, up north.
Yep. If you are a golfer, we have 1.5 foursomes still available. If you're not a golfer, we will have tons of barbecue, beer, drinks, and such starting at about 5 p.m. So just reach out to Molly, to Brian, myself, Mark, and let us know if you are interested and if you're interested in golfing. Again, this is a members only event, so you know that you'll be hanging out with awesome folk. So we hope to see you. A couple of people here have already RSVP'd, so I'm excited about that.
I know it
To be
takes so
clear,
long. Go
the
ahead.
1.5 foursomes means those are the paid slots left. You can always sign up after the closeout date, and you're on time.
We have one more announcement before we say goodbye. Rosemary, one more thing. Our business assessment. I think we should talk about that, please.
Yes, thank you. So on Friday, September the 16th, right here in Tyson's at the Tower Club, we are going to be hosting, in addition to our friends and partners at the Greater Washington Board of Trade, an in-person, very exclusive CEO-only event for local CEOs within driving distance, so not just in Tyson's, who are operating businesses in the $2 to $25 million range of annual revenues. We are going to help them assess their growth potential and identify high ROI opportunities within their own businesses to generate more growth. And we'll do that with an immediate feedback report, with a one-on-one debrief, and over a fantastic lunch at the Tower Club. If you know a CEO that could use help identifying areas to grow their own company, the CEO is in the 2 to 25 million annual revenue range, and they would like to spend 1.5 to 2 hours with us in person at the Tower Club, please let us know. I'll make sure my email is in the chat so that you have it.
One other comment, okay? This is a sales meeting or learning how to sell and follow up. Just imagine, Molly, we could double our size overnight if everyone on this call just invited one person to become an elite advisor and they joined.
Yes. Thank you, Brian. You just practiced what we learned.
Hey, Molly. Hey, Molly, I just want to say a quick word about our kickoff meeting for our Inner Circle Baltimore. Is going to be September 29th.
Oh, right. Thank you, Marco.
Inner Circle is CEOs that produce 20 million and up. And we're going to have the kickoff meeting on the 29th We are finalizing the logistics and the venue. We have a couple of places that we have to decide where we're going to go, but once we have that confirmed, we'll send that out to everyone. And it's going to be by invitation only, so just keep an eye on it.
Thank you, Marco. I didn't see you on the screen, so I'm sorry I missed you, but that was excellent. That's definitely something we want all of our lead advisors to be aware of, the inner circle up in Baltimore. Marco, thank you so much for being a part of our team now. I'm really excited for that. All right, without further ado, it's probably dinner time or time to hit on the road for some of us. Thank you for gifting us with the additional 4 minutes, everybody.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye all.
It was
Bye-bye.
great to see everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. You all taking.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you, Wanda.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.